an engaging session yesterday, as you've seen, at the National Assembly. And highlight of that was the fact that we need to take care of the welfare of our judicial officers, from judges to judicial officers across the value chain. And that is why you saw the Minister of Finance, Wale Odu, Lateef Fagbemi, the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, as well as the President of the Court of Appeal. And all of this advocacy is to make sure that for a critical, pillar of democracy like the judiciary, we ensure that issues of payments are not an issue, if you allow me to say it that way. That's why we've been joined on the program to explore further the conversation that started yesterday by the chairman-elect of the Nigerian Bar Association, Ibadan branch, Mr. Ibrahim Lawal. He joins us via Zoom. Mr. Lawal, thank you for coming on the program.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
This looks like a lot of good news for judicial officers. Is that it for you from where you sit?
Well, it's a mixed feeling for me because it is unfortunate that at this time is when we are talking about the pay rise for judicial officers. It appears to me that we have not been fair to them, and we're always quick to bash them when they dish out judgments, but they have been so neglected up to today. But like I said, it's a mixed feeling. At least I'm happy now that somebody is looking at it and they are trying to change or correct those anomalies. But it is something that we shouldn't be discussing. It's something that we should have a structure that would do that at every point in time. Judiciary is so important to the life of any nation that we cannot toy with it the way we are doing in this part of the world. Not only the judges, even the magistrates. If you look at the level of abject poverty of our magistrates across the country, you will marvel. And these are people who on a daily basis, try as much as possible, to dispense justice, particularly matters that relate to crime. But what do they get in return? You have a situation where you have magistrates.
All right, we hope we can reconnect with Mr. Lawal, who is the chairman-elect of the NBA Ibadan branch. Okay, he's back. Mr. Lawal, you can go ahead. If you can unmute and go ahead, Mr. Lawal.
Yes.
Just to land on your thoughts.
Yes. So you imagine the state of finance, even the state of health of the judiciary. Not only their remuneration, go to courts in Nigeria, you will marvel at the kind of structures you have across the country. It is so appalling. When you get to courts, you'll be greeted with all sorts of vegetations that are not required in court atmosphere. So there are some places where there are no courtrooms, and they will have to invent one or two things for that one to become a courtroom. So there are a lot of things that need to be done about judiciary in terms of personnel, in terms of the structure itself, and the quality of supporting staffs in our court system. It's appalling when you get to court and you see the quality, because of the pay. Quality people are not attracted as judicial assistants or supporting staffs in our courts. So
Oh dear.
It appears as if...
It appears the network wouldn't allow Dr. Lawal land on his thought. But we're talking about judiciary and their welfare. One of the things that was raised by Professor Odin Kalu yesterday on our sister program, Politics Today, was the fact that this should not be just about judges and justices of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. It should be about the entire spectrum of the judiciary. Mr. Lawal, are you there? Oh dear. Can you hear me, Mr. Lawal?
Yes, I can hear you, and that supports my assertion here that it has not, it should not be limited to the justices of Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, or even High Court judges. I'm even saying that it should permeate down the ladder, that the whole judicial structure should be taken care of. Even magistrates, caddies, and whoever that has one or two things to do with our justice system must be taken care of. Judiciary has been neglected for a long time, and that's the truth. Part of it was even the remuneration, is the remuneration of judges. A lot of other things, like the president of Court of Appeal said, even running the courts is a problem to a lot of judicial divisions, especially in Oyo State. There are even lack of adequate number of judges. In the last 2 years, I mean, judges had been selected for them to be appointed. The government has refused to provide vehicles for judges to aid the appointment. In Oyo State, we are supposed to have 40 judges. We have less than 15 judges as I'm talking to you. And so imagine the kind of work those less than 15 judges will do, and what the ordinary people on the street will suffer because of lack of, adequate personnel to man our courts. Ditto other places, ditto other states. Not to talk of magistrates. We don't have enough magistrates. They don't even have enough courtrooms. The courtrooms that are there are not properly, maintained. You get to some magistrate court, you will marvel. So it is a whole lot of issues that judiciary has to be looked into holistically. It is not only on the issue of remuneration, which is key anyway, but we have to look at it holistically in terms of structure, in terms of finance of the courts, and in terms of quality of personnel that will assist the court in ensuring prompt delivery of justice. So that's the thing. So judiciary will have to be looked into. In fact, if it means declaring a state of emergency on the judiciary, I think we should do it. We are just deceiving ourselves. All those things we are doing, there are a lot of issues with judiciary that we need to look into to ensure that they dispense justice without fear or favor. Most of
it's a good thing that you are drawing attention to to the entire spectrum of the judiciary now, not just judges, which we're quick to more often than not concentrate on, but we also forget that there are, as you have said, magistrates, there are court bailiffs, there are court probation officers, there are court administrators. As a matter of fact, there are other levels of administrators. There are security personnel also that work in those courts, and they are all judiciary workers. But really, how holistic is this call by the Attorney General of the Federation for a review of the remuneration of judicial workers? Because it reminds me of a piece written by Senior Advocate of Nigeria just last year, drawing attention to the poor state of welfare of magistrates in Lagos. So who should be championing the cause of judiciary workers, not just at the federal level now, but at the state level?
Well, it is the responsibility of the bar, to speak for the judiciary. Judiciary has no voice of their own. It is the responsibility of the bar. The national body of our association must do more than they are doing now to ensure that those matters are put in the front burner. For us at the state level, and for me as the newly elected chairman of Ibadan Bar, I have taken it as a responsibility to speak for the bar.
Right.
We are going to speak loudly and draw attention of government to issues bordering on the state of our judiciary. We are going to, so it is our responsibility as lawyers, body of lawyers. Jusun have always been saying their own, but we must complement their effort.
Right.
It is the responsibility of NBA, to speak for the judiciary. It is also our responsibility to speak against the judiciary if they are acting not in tandem with their oaths. So, in tandem with their judicial oaths,
And speaking of
it is our
Jusun,
responsibility to speak for them.
right. Speaking of Jusun, I know they've had to go on strikes and demonstrate, particularly for what they called the autonomy of the judiciary, as well as the welfare and the rest of judiciary workers. But I'd like us to break it down further. So there's a call for autonomy. There's now the call yet again for improved welfare, salaries, remuneration, and the rest. Don't forget that Labour is also doing its own, trying to get better minimum wage for workers. They've since rejected the 48,000 naira proposal by the government. And this is the same government that you are relying upon to increase the wages of judiciary workers. So at this point, which is more important, the autonomy, having proper autonomy as it ought to be, or improved welfare? And in the context of governments that are still dragging their feet when it comes to improved minimum wage, how far do you think you can move the needle? On the flip side, which is another question I'd like to ask, but I'll keep that till you answer this one, Mr. Lawal.
You see, the ultimate goal is for the judiciary to have their own autonomy. If there is an autonomy, it also means that there is financial autonomy, and they can decide, objectively as to the appropriate remuneration, for judiciary workers, and as well as all strata of the judiciary. The reason why we are talking about pay rise, for judicial officers is that because they are not in control of their finances, they still need to go cap in hand. Like I just told you now, what had stalled appointment of judges in Oyo State is the refusal of the governor to provide vehicle that the would-be judges will use when they are appointed. So and in the last 2 years, we have not been able to appoint judges, even when they have been shortlisted. They are ready, but because the vehicle that will show that the state is ready for new judges had not been provided by the governor.
So, Mr. Lawal, fantastic point you make there. But here comes the flip side of my... pardon me. Here comes the flip side of my question, and I'd like us to just consider both of them. In 2020, I think ICPC had rated the judiciary in its index as one of the most corrupt. So is this why we see that sort of corruption in the judiciary? Because the wages, the remuneration and the welfare of judiciary workers are not what it ought to be. Is that responsible for that corruption reported in the sector?
Of course, if you want to say somebody should not be corrupt, that person must be adequately taken care of. While I will not subscribe to any judicial officer being corrupt, the state must also perform its own responsibility in ensuring that those judicial officers are put in a good stead. They are comfortable and do not need to be swayed by any other thing, particularly the supporting staffs. Their remuneration is nothing to write home about, and they will want to augment it. So that's the problem, with the judiciary. We need to first and foremost do that which is necessary for them not to, get involved in any form of corruption. If you have not, you can imagine in the last 15 years, their pay had been stagnated. Yet you want the best for them. Even if you are not corrupt, how do you want them to give the best, to the kind of job you have given them? It's not going to work like that. So we need to be sincere with ourselves. We need to take a holistic view of the judiciary, not only in the federal, in all the states, and ensure that what is due to them is given to them. Then we can now talk about,
All right,
fair judgment. We can talk about fair justice.
All right, Mr. Lawal, absolutely, your point top-notch, and we hope that this is not just going to be a talk shop. It's going to be implemented at the end of the day. We must thank you, Ibrahim Lawal, the chairman-elect, Nigerian Bar Association, Ibadan branch. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
You are welcome. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, we'll take a quick break now, and when we come back, we'll switch gears, and of course, we'll get to Nollywood, the big winners of the night at the AMVCA. One of them is right here with us. Who? You'll find out after this break. Join us again.